Welcome to my kitchen, the heart of my home. This is where my stories begin, where I cook, where I create, and where my Italian roots meet my Canadian life. If you ever wondered how I cook, what I reach for, or the flavors that shape my meals, you're in the right place. So come with me on a 30-minute Italian journey, beginning exactly where every good antipasto begins. Just like a balanced meal, I always start with protein. So I usually go to the deli counter and I will get mortadella. I will get some capicollo, some spicy calabrese salami, and prosciutto crudo di Parma. Then I'll get an assortment of cheese like pecorino, the cotronese. I also get grana padano, maybe another pecorino romano, and I will get gorgonzola for a really nice something bold. And then provolone, some sliced provolone. Then I add some vegetables. So I'll use a giardiniera, which has pickled carrots and celery and cauliflower. Then there is the peperoncino that I add also, as well as eggplants in olive oil, and also the artichokes in olive oil. Then I like to add some sun-dried tomatoes in oil, roasted peppers, and then for a spread, I'll add andouille spread, which is a little bit spicy. Then an assortment of olives. Now, the olives, I usually like to get schiacciate, olive schiacciate, that they're a little bit spicy. Then the black cured olives, the Kalamata pitted olives, and also the cracked Sicilian olives. And to decorate the platter, I will add these giant capers, which are called, I think, caper berries. Okay, they're massive. And sometimes I will add some dried figs or apricot to the mix, and also some dried nuts. And then for last, we will add this breadsticks, a couple of breadsticks, and a couple of crostini to go with the antipasto platter. So these are the heart of our meal. All forms of tomatoes. I always keep Roma fresh tomatoes, as well as the one in a vine, because I like to make my homemade tomato sauce. As well, I keep Italian peel in a can, as well as the passata, the smooth one, which I usually use for my pizza, and the rustica. When I want a quick pasta sauce, I will use the rustica. As well, I keep Mutti tomato paste. And this is what I use to make my rosé sauce. I add a little bit of this and it turns out perfect. So as you see, all these are the base for so many sauces. And without these, I'm not Italian. Now that we have the sauce, we need a perfect pasta. So let's start with my family's favorite, orecchiette, because that little scoop will hold any type of sauce beautifully. Then we have other type of small pasta, which is the penne rigate, as well as rigatoni, okay? Then we also have the gnocco sardo, which this is really good for soups. And I shouldn't say this, but this is my favorite pasta because I also use it in Italy. It is a rumo, and it is also the fusilli, which is my favorite shape of pasta. So after the short pasta, we also carry the long pasta. Linguine is perfect for a seafood-based sauce, and the fettuccine, which are a little bit larger, they look like a little bit larger. These are really good for hearty meat sauce. Of course, we will have lasagna. Yes, I do make my own homemade lasagna sheets, but when I want to do something quick, this one is really good. You just put it in with your sauce and you just put it in the oven. So it's really good to have on hand. As well as I like to have some gnocchi, and I also make my own gnocchi, but sometimes it's always good to have gnocchis for a quick meal. Then if you're a nonna, a grandma like me, you will carry pastina. This is for babies. And so since I have Mimi, this is for him. My friends, Italians don't only eat pasta. They also eat rice. And me being from the north of Italy, my mother's from Veneto, my father's from Milan, we eat a lot of risotto. So arborio is one that I like to use, as well as cannaroli. So with those two, I create amazing risotti. You should check my YouTube channel. There's quite a few risotti recipes. For soups, sides, hearty dishes, and even bean salad, I'll keep the cannellini beans that make great salads, as well as chickpeas. And I also keep the borlotti beans, and these are great to make a risotto with the beans. Though my mother used to make this quite often for my father. I also have legumes like lentils and as well as chickpeas. And they're perfect for slow cooked meals and add so much comfort to any meals. And of course, I'll keep chicken and beef broth on hand because they're essential for soups, risotti, and adding depth to any of my recipes. There's nothing wrong with this. They're perfect, but I also make my own broth. So every meal, we need good olive oil and as well as good vinegar for a great salad. I keep extra virgin olive oil for cooking as well for finishing. So if I do a sauce and I see I can add a little bit of this extra virgin olive oil on top. Then I carry also the vegetable for frying, as well as the peanut oil for frying. Then I have assortments of vinegars and olive oil put together. They're a little bit, the bougie kind of olive oils. And so this is Sicilian and lemon. So there is lemon in this olive oil. Then there is
the gramolata milanese, which is like parsley and garlic. This is really, really good to add to your meats and stuff. And then this one is with basil, olive oil with basil. These are the bougie kind. Then we have the regular red wine and white wine vinegar, simple, easy. And then we have the balsamic vinegar of Modena, okay? Then we also have, oh yes, the king of vinegars. You see it? Handwritten, homemade red wine vinegar. So this is actually my favorite of all. I also keep tuna in olive oil, as well as sardines and baby clams, as well as a bottle of the juice of the clams. And these are for quick seafood pasta. So all these ingredients saves dinner on a busy day. So simple flavors and always ready when I need them. So this I always keep in my pantry. Most of you know that Italians love to make their own bread and their own pizza. So we tend to carry assortment of flours. Now, for my bread, I use all-purpose flour as well as type 00. I also use this when I'm in Italy. And then I also have a dough for pizza. Regardless, you don't have to go with this, but you can still do it with all-purpose flour, your pizza dough. Then I carry, obviously, brown sugar, the icing sugar, and regular sugar for our baking. And then I also have yeast. Now this yeast, you guys know when you open it, you have to put it in the fridge, right? So it comes in jars like this, as well as little packs in this shape here. And I also carry the one that you have to keep in the fridge. We have a good bakery, and they also sell the fresh yeast. Now, what I tend to do with this yeast, I just got it the other day, so I haven't done it yet. But what I do, I tend to cut it, weigh it, the amount that I need. Then I wrap it with plastic. Then I wrap it with foil paper. And then I put it in a Ziploc bag, remove as much as air as possible, and then I freeze it. Because a whole block like this for making homemade bread for a family, maybe 4 or 5 loaves, this is too much. This lasts me for a while. For other baking things that I usually use is pure orange extract, as well as the lemon. I do like those two in when I do my cakes. And also my vanilla bean. And I really like that when I do my custard cream. And then I also carry these, they're glazed mixed fruit, candied fruits. And we tend to use them in certain desserts, especially during the Christmas times. My next staple thing is polenta. Polenta is something that I use quite often when I make a dish that is saucy, just like the bacalà alla vicentina. It's a lot of cream in it, and we eat it with polenta. If you want the recipe of the vicentina bacalà, just go on my YouTube channel and you will see it. I might just post it below and you can click on it. Another item that we keep in our home, which is this. They're called friselle. And this is hard bread, okay? It's like twice baked. And we tend to do bruschetta. No, we tend to do bruschetta with it. This is the bread that I like to use to make bruschetta. And I usually do it with the tomatoes. I will have a recipe when I do this one. I'll show it to you what I do with it. But this is a staple. It is absolutely amazing to have, because if you have anybody that comes at the last minute, you want to create something really fast, this is it. So you want to know what's in my spice drawers. My mother used to be a chef, an amazing chef, and she taught me well to keep my spices and herbs well organized and stocked. She also mentioned to me, and that's something I will always remember, and she says, once you get to know your spices and your herbs, it's just like a artist's palette, the colors on it. When you get to know them all, your canvas will expand. So I use a lot of this, and I will show you what I like to use. Every Italian household is different, but I will show you mine. So my spices and herbs are usually kept in these containers like so, and they have their own little jars. So one of them that I use is oregano. Then I have the basil that is dry. And then I also have nutmeg, which for my bechamel sauce. Then I have sage, ground sage, which is for my wild meats. And then I have the garlic powder as well as the onion powder when I do my dry rubs. And sometimes I will put them in certain sauces that I do. And then I also have these that I brought back from Italy, certain spice for potatoes and for fish. And I also have fennel seeds for homemade sausage. Sometimes I even put it on pork meat. And then this is the queen of the spices, which is saffron. This is, to me, is gold. So, and then I have juniper berries. Now, this is also for my wild meats like deer meat or boar meat. I will put some of these in. And then obviously everybody has sea salt and black pepper. It is a must. And as well as my chili pepper. I keep a lot of that. So that is one container. My other container is that keeps all my bouillons, which I use quite often for risotto. This is for fish. If I'm doing a fish soup, I will add one of these. These tend to enhance the flavor of your food. I got the chicken, I have the beef, as well as the mushrooms when I do a risotto with porcini mushrooms, as well as the herb bouillon and also the vegetables bouillon. Then I also have bay leaves when I do soups or lentils or anything like that. Then my next one is my surplus. I keep all my surplus of what I told you here. And I also have these. This is arrabbiata and this is buscaiola. These are already prepared mixes to make pasta sauce arrabbiata and pasta sauce buscaiola. This one here, especially this one, I like to also add to some tomato sauce. I don't do it all the time, but depends on what I'm putting in the tomato sauce as vegetables or meat or whatever. I might add maybe a tablespoon of this. So, and then I also have wild porcini mushrooms. This is when I do risotti, or I might do, let's say, wild boar, and I might put in fresh mushrooms plus these dried mushrooms to the mix. And the other stuff that I also carry is the the breadcrumbs. Now, these are the ones that are seasoned, but I also get the ones that are not seasoned, which I prefer those because I can add my own herbs with it. So this is my fridge. It is a tiny fridge, but we do have another one downstairs. But this is what I keep in my fridge. So it has everything I need for during the week, and definitely need our eggs, keep my butter, also my fresh yeast, anything that it is in oil. Once I open it, it goes into the fridge. I keep pear juice because my grandson Antonio loves the pear juice. And then if we go to lower here, we have the pesto, my anchovy paste, as well as a full jar of anchovies, and that I use them quite often in certain sauces. Then if we go here, we have the olives that I showed you before, sun-dried tomatoes, my parsley. This is how I keep my parsley. I put it in a glass and I keep it there. I don't wash it. I only wash it when I use it. And then obviously we will have mascarpone cheese, the bocconcini, and also a ricotta. I do quite a bit of stuff with ricotta. And I also keep all fresh herbs. So I'll use thyme, I'll use fresh oregano, I'll use fresh rosemary, and fresh dill for my fish. So that's pretty much it. And then my bottom drawer, I keep some vegetables and whatever. And the bottom drawer is all for my cheeses. Okay, this is the dessert, what we have in our home. So these are giant lady cookies. These were cookies when I used to come home from school. I would dunk them in a cold glass of milk. It was my favorite of all, and I still have them. Then we would always have the S cookies, which was a little bit more fancier kind of cookie. My mother would take out when people would come over and have their coffee and stuff like that. Then these are amaretti. The amaretti are really, really good cookies. You can just eat them the way they are, but I use them a lot in certain desserts. So I'll break them up on top of some cream. I do other type of desserts, which I'm probably going to post a few on YouTube because these are really decadent. And then we have the queens, the savoiardi. These are the ones that we do the original tiramisu. These are the ones, ladyfingers. Now, what do I have to say about this? Nutella. Nutella is a spread, a hazelnut spread that pretty much every Italian has, just like the tomatoes. We have Nutella. As I was growing up, a lot of my friends were having peanut butter and jelly, but I was growing up with hazelnut. And now, I know that Nutella has a lot of factories throughout the world, and there's one in Brampton, Ontario. And there's a difference between the imported Nutella from Italy compared to the ones that are done in other countries. Like, I know of Brampton, Ontario, they will not use the glass container, they will use the plastic container. So that
you can tell it is done here in Canada. But the Italian, the one from Italy, is done with glass. It just preserves it a little bit longer. That's what they're saying. Now, this you can do so much. Desserts, you name it, put it on a piece of toast, whatever. It's a must to have in an Italian pantry. And when it's open, you keep it in the pantry. You don't put it in the fridge. Then we also have, which is the rage now in Italy. Wherever I go in Italy, pastry shops, they will have ice cream, granita. They will have their pastry, cakes done, and even coffee with pistachio. It's another spread, but it's like the rage in Italy right now. And it's here in Canada, so I was happy to find it. And if you saw one of my videos, I did put this spread on with a ricotta. So it's you can do a multitude things with this one here, pistachio. So now that you know what's in my pantry and in my fridge, is it what you were expecting? I mean, there's much more also. I mean, I cannot go downstairs and show you what's in my fridge downstairs because, yes, and my other pantry downstairs. But this is what I usually use. Whatever you saw in this video, that's what I use. Anyways, I hope you liked this video. I hope it was a little bit informative and to know what an Italian has. And like I said prior, there's different households, Italian household, that they will carry different products and different brands. And that's my pantry and fridge tour. These are the ingredients I reach for every single day to build a meal for my family. The flavors that keep my Canadian life close to my Italian roots. Each ingredient tells a story, from the flavors I grew up with to the traditions my parents carried with them here in Canada. I want to thank you for spending this whole pantry and fridge journey with me. I know it was a long one, and the fact that you stayed to the end means more than you know. Kindly subscribe, like, comment, and share. This will help me bring you more delicious recipes and stories of my Italian and Canadian life. Ciao!